And we're back with more Grim Dawn build videos. This time, we're doing kind of a more thematic build, and I call this the Paladin. And I built this character based on the concept of a Paladin. What does a Paladin use for his abilities, and what does a Paladin do for himself and, a party? So first and foremost, we're looking at the classes, and I did the Soldier and Arcanist, so this guy's technically a battle mage. Because one of the elements of having a character be a paladin is smiting things from on high, and for that I'm using Trozen's Sky Shard. And Trozen's Sky Shard is completely maxed out, so it is his big bomb attack, and one of the main attacks in his rotation. And it's just a ton of, in this case, lightning damage, because he is a lightning-based character. So the other big thing to me that a gaming paladin would have is auras, and that's part of the reason I went with these two classes more than anyone else, is because of squad tactics. Well, field command, and by extension, squad tactics. Because squad tactics gives you a good chunk of total damage and a good chunk of attack speed. And this applies to everyone within the 12-meter radius of field command. Additionally, I went with Iskander's Elemental Exchange, because in that same 12-meter radius, this adds a lot of elemental damage to your party's attacks. And obviously I'm going to be doing this guy solo, so he is going to be missing out a little bit on this concept, because he doesn't have anyone to play with right now. But Iskander's Elemental Exchange with Overload, that tiny bit of Electrocute is always fun to have proc, but it's not the main reason I put a point into Overload. The main reason is because that percent elemental damage is just sort of icing on the cake for the single point you get, for the single point you put in there. But yeah, those are his two auras to help benefit the party. Now, aside from smiting, and aside from auras, paladins tend to use, holy attacks. And for that, I threw a piece of Blessed Steel in his weapon. Now, I think maybe an aura would also work here, but I don't really know if there's a lightning aura in the game, because Amber gives you Lightning Strike too, which is very similar to to the Sacred Strike ability that's granted by Blessed Steel. And I don't actually think there is a lightning aura. I think Cracked Lodestone gives you Lightning Strike 1, Amber gives you Lightning Strike 2, and there isn't a lightning aura. So yeah. No aura on his weapon. I think maybe the fire aura granted by, what's that called? Flintstones, I think it is. Would be a good alternative, but I'm going with Sacred Strike. And Sacred Strike is a giant elemental attack on top of your weapon damage, and it reduces the target's resistances for 5 seconds. So, that is his sort of holy weapon attack, and yeah, very, very good single target damage on that as well. Additionally, in terms of his attacking things, I have him with Shield Slam 2 from the Serrated Shell component, and this is his another thing that paladins tend to do is Shield Bash. So we've got our Shield Bash, and we've got our sort of Sacred Weapon Strike, and we've got a Smite. Lastly, the third... We're on third, right? Well, whatever. Lastly, paladins tend to have a lot of, self-protective abilities, Invulnerability Sphere, Holy Armor, holy things that block incoming things, like the Mercies in Pathfinder or whatever. Or, what is that ability? They're immune to fear and various things like that. They just get a lot of immunities based on blocking incoming bad stuff. So in this case we have the Fortress Relic, and Mirror of Oraktes, and Overguard, which are 3 hugely defensive abilities that he can use to increase his survival, and that he can use sort of like oh crap buttons to avoid, dying. And that basically covers... Oh, and Paladins can tend to self-heal, so we got the Combat Medic's mark. And this does, within his aura radius, provide that health and regen when it procs. So again, that's another aura-y thing for him to have. So moving on to the non-thematic stuff, I put a lot of points in military conditioning to build up his physique, and I have an extra point in veterancy to lower physique requirements. And because right now he is, without his chest, like his chest piece provides a lot of physique, but he can actually lose that if he ever switches anything out that also provides physique. So I really did actually need to give him a lot of physique, and actually that bonus health really helps him with survivability. 1 point into Decorated Soldier for that tiny bit of resistances and physical damage. 1 point in Blitz, and 1 point in Blindside for him to deal area of effect damage with his blitzes. 1 point in Cadence, because I want to use Cadence as his left click. 3 points in Discord, because of all of his elemental damage, he'll be getting more elemental damage on his attacks. And then I did put 1 point in Fighting for him to give a tiny arc to Cadence. 1 point in Fighting Spirit, 1 point in Markovian's Advantage, and 1 point in Zolhan's Technique, which he gets +3 on from his chest piece. Right now, I have him with a +1 to all Arcanist skills, Hallowed Ground, but that's only because I didn't have a +1 to all soldier skills, which I think would be the better of the 2 options, just because he has so many one-offs in this tree that getting him +1 to all of these would definitely be a bigger advantage than +1 to the handful of skills he has here. Oh, and he also has Inner Focus capped out, because Inner Focus gives you a lot of offensive ability, and it does give him Spirit to help bolster up his more limited magic abilities, because really they are secondary, even though I did put a lot of points into Trojan Sky Shard. And that covers his abilities. Items, his weapon is the Sacred Hammer of Eternal Wrath. I did try using the Sky Shard Spellblade, but it just made his attacks way too weak. So ultimately, I went with the Sacred Hammer of Eternal Wrath, because it's also the Sacred Hammer of Eternal Wrath. It's a very Paladini themed weapon for him to use. But maybe in the future, the Sky Shard Spellblade will be his main weapon. His chest piece is Zolhan's Battle Plate, and really it's only because I couldn't get a better chest piece to put here, and I think I'm going to end up crafting something. Hopefully something based around giving him physical and lightning damage, because this guy really is wanting on lightning damage right now, and that would be how I would perfect his build, because he does have, like, his physical damage isn't great either, but I do have a lot of lightning damage with him, and that's sort of what I want to go for over anything else. And still stack physical damage, because that's what his weapon swings are going to do as well. Excuse me. He has, I did give him, I think he has 2. He has 2 pieces of gear that have the Paladin's prefix, and I think I would actually want to go for these as well, possibly on his chest piece. I think I could attempt to go for Paladin's chest piece of Fallen Skies would be perfect, but I don't exactly know if I'd be able to roll that easily crafting it. It'd probably be a stupid rare thing to go for. But yeah, he has Paladin's Splinted Chaucers of the Tortoise, which is not easy to say. And the Paladin's prefix provides less damage from undead, physique, defensive ability, pierce resist, and 3% chance of stun retaliation. The of the Tortoise would be the Spirit, the Armor, and Armor percent, which is handy for a melee character. His belt is a Death's Cord of Fallen Skies, which I actually crafted up on my Arcanist, and I'm giving to him. And one of the things in the future I consider doing for him is actually getting to Myvin's Sphere. And actually going all the way to Shattered Star, because that's the lightning damage Sky Shard ability. But I mean, he's already way, way deep into the soldier tree, so I can't really get him out to that just to have that single ability. But it would be something I would consider, and I'll get to what I'm considering for the future of this build in a moment. Oh, and Ancient Armor Plate there, obviously. And this ability has a defensive ability for him, which is great. And it also occasionally causes single sky shards to fall, which is also great. And then the Molten Skin is for a little bit of fire resistance. I mean, he has some great fire resistance, and his 3 elemental resistances are pretty good. Like I mentioned before, it's a Combat Medic's mark for his metal. And I threw an attuned lodestone in there because of the bonus lightning damage and offensive ability, tiny bit of lightning retaliation, and the static charge is a really solid sort of nova that pops off of him. The shield is Elementium because it combines having a shield with bonus elemental damage, with the aforementioned serrated shell. Shoulders are the Devil's Shoulder Guard from Devil's Crossing, mostly because I don't have anything better to go in here right now. And I'm going to look for something better. I may go back to using the Guardsman's Spauldrons because of Guardian's Will, which is a really solid self-heal. His gloves are Consecrated Squire's Handguards. I do have a pair of Paladin Scale Mail Van Braces, but these are slightly better in terms of what they provide him. And then Paladin's Frontier Sabatons. These are just boots to fill the slot, more or less. Oh, I don't have a component there. Well, shame on me. Oh, and I did go with the Consecrated Squire's Handguards because the Squire's Handguards have him with a Lightning Nova. His helmet is a Solar Defender, which is from Homestead here. Again, just because I didn't have anything good to go there, but I may go back to doing the Guardsman's helm, and I might go back to setting the Guardsman's helm and shoulders. We'll see what happens. Then his jewelry is a Shield Maiden's Guard for his amulet with an Arcane Lens, a Starfire Ring with Mark of Illusions, and Sentinel Seal with another Mark of Illusions. You may notice he has a shield proc here, and a shield proc, bonus shield damage blocked, and then a shield proc, a shield-based ability on his relic. So he does have some shielding, and +3 I think it is to Overguard in total. So he does have sort of a shield focus as well, which is something Paladins tend to do. Alternative gear, I did consider doing the Redemption set for its huge amount of retaliation, because he does end up with quite a bit of lightning retaliation. But that is very acid damage based, and it does give you a lot of retaliation with it. But I didn't want to build a Paladin based around acid damage, so I'm going to be saving that, I think, for a specific character. A sort of Redeemer build. But that's in the future. And alternatively, I did consider just throwing on all 5 pieces of the Guardsman set, because I have all 5 pieces of the Guardsman set, and it does result in a lot of defensive ability, in addition to +2 to all soldier skills. It's just nothing on it really directly supports being a Paladin. It supports being, a Guardsman. So let's go into the field with him. So we got a group of... Oh, hello. Now, because he's using a one-hander, he won't, one-hit guys, but he will be able to tank quite easily. And because of his on-hit procs, he'll actually have not bad, responses to enemies smacking him. So I'm going to try to cycle through all of his abilities, and you'll see that things do tend to die fairly quickly. He will take a lot of damage, though, because he's just going to be in melee taking a lot of damage, but luckily, he's really tanky, and he can definitely put up a fight. Now, these things are just a pain in the ass for him to deal with. Then again, I think they're mostly a pain in the ass for everyone to deal with. I love knocking enemies on their ass with with blitz. Yeah, it's not a very paladin-y thing to do, but man, is it just fun to do. Ooh, this will be a challenge. Break the wall. So I popped my fortress proc. Yeah, that's both of them dead. I just don't know if I can hit their ethereal stuff with the yellow items on. Now, I think of the squalls is actually a good thing to maybe go for with this. But there are probably a couple of lightning based affixes that would be good to go for with him. If I'm actually accidentally gonna hit Overguard, I'm totally just gonna run into a giant group of enemies. Of course, actually these guys, it's probably a bad thing to run in here because these guys stun. Yeah, he's doing pretty good. I may make this guy my, like, secondary character after my Aether Arcanist, just because he's got this theme thing going on. So one of the things I try to do, which is actually quite difficult to do sometimes, is I try to hit enemies with the Blessed Strike before I hit them with Trojan's Sky Shard. If they're things that I think won't survive one Sky Shard drop, then I'll tend to go for, like, Blessed Striking and then dropping the Sky Shard on them, because it's very much an ability that's based around that elemental attack that the Blessed Strike can the Blessed Strike can, you know, lower enemies' resistances. So then you drop the Sky Shard on them. I was kind of anticipating finding the lair by now. So you may also notice that his quests, he has a lot of stuff from Act 2 still listed. That's because I was playing this character with my brother, and I don't exactly want to complete every single quest available to him. Because, except the later Act 3 stuff, or, well, just the Act 3 stuff that's present, because it's very obvious what you do in Act 3, so... So, yeah, he has, like, find Dahlia in the mountain deeps and deliver royal jelly, and it's like, well, that's all technically stuff that's, like, middle Act 2 even, I'd say. So, some ability combos I like doing are... I like dropping Sky Shard just as I'm shield bashing, because it's a good mix of the of AoE damages. And like I said, Blessed Strike followed by the Sky Shard is a good good way to up the damage of the Sky Shards. It's weird that I said he's a paladin, but he does all these elemental things. That's just the way Grim Dawn is. I also just love blitzing enemies, even at, like, close range. It's just like, bang! Full on, like, just shoulder barge enemies. And you will see, like, the little Zul'Han techniques pop up with this guy as well. I believe the little spin is Zul'Han's technique, and when he does the little leap attack like that, well, when it's not Blessed Strike, it's, Markavian's advantage. And obviously that's Shield Bash, the purple. So against this guy, I popped a bunch of my defensive abilities, and I'm going to continue doing that. Now this is where like the main weakness of the build does come in, is he can last a really long time against things, but he doesn't take things down as quickly as, say, a character with a two-hander would. And right now I think his gearing is a little lacking, is his only big flaw right now. But still, we're in veteran, we're in the late game, and he's handling it pretty well. So we're going to try to take down this boss. And I picked this boss specifically to go after because you do get hoarded quite a bit. And you do have to deal with a pretty nasty dot during its first form. So I wanted to go with that because it provides a challenge. Like, he could easily go in with all of his, you know, Paladin named gear. He could easily go into Steps of Torment and be like, oh, let's just, you know, face roll through everything. But, I didn't want to make this really stupid easy and make myself look good. I wanted to do kind of a challenge. Which is also why I'm doing it here, is because, you know, he gets hoarded. He gets hoarded and he doesn't have a huge AoE attack. So yeah, that would be an example of getting nailed by the dot and getting hoarded by the little guys, dealing a good chunk of damage to him. For the future of this particular build, I would probably go more into the Arcanist tree, specifically to get Sky Shards, the higher Sky Shard abilities. And I'm going to do something I normally don't do with my Arcanists, and that's run down here, because I want to make sure I have lots of open area and I don't get, you know, back attacked and flanked by enemies. So we're going to come down here and activate the eggs. He obviously doesn't have the potions that my my Arcanist has either. So before I actually fight the boss, I do want to point out future of the build. I would probably want to get to. I'd put 1 point in Frozen Core because he's not cold based. Here, go away. Excuse me, I'm trying to talk about builds here. Okay. 1 point in Frozen Core. But he's not cold damage based. It would mostly be to get to Shattered Star, which would up the lightning damage of this. And then Fabric of Reality, Mental Accuracy I would skip on. Maybe I would do Nullification, sort of as a, like, take away an enemy's buffs / heal allies. And I'd maybe put a point in Arcane Will, because his health does go down a lot. And I definitely would put 1 point in the Myvan Severe Protection with Conversion. And I would actually consider going to Reckless Power with Ascendance, because Ascendance is a pretty big buff to a group. However, I don't really think there's anything else way down the line that he would go for, so I would get him to 40 and maybe stop. But if we're talking like completely open-ended level capping, yeah, I would absolutely try to get to Ascendance. But I definitely want to get to Shattered Star at some point in the future. I just don't know. Don't walk over there yet. I just don't know when I'll be able to, because even if we get a 10 level cap increase, that's 30 points, that would only get him here. And I had to pull points out of other stuff to get that working. But there's also, it's not Olerun's Rage. Yeah, Maynard's Bulwark is also something I would consider for him. Is the super defensive ability at the end of the Soldier Tree, but I don't really know. And maybe put a point in Scars of Battle, but I don't really know if I would ultimately want to go for it. Because like I said, it's up in the air where I'd actually take this guy. Okay, we're gonna run away. We're gonna be doing kind of hit and runny things here because of the nature of this boss. But like I said, I didn't want to do an easy boss for this guy to do. I wanted to do something a little more difficult. Oh, that got her down. Good. Now, as you can see, he's having a much easier time with this form than the other form, because it's basically a normal boss fight at that point, without dealing with the insane dots and all the ads. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of a more thematic Grim Dawn build. I'll be back tomorrow with a special new thing that's going to be starting tomorrow. But for now, that's the Paladin in Grim Dawn. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.